Yo, what up? This is D Knight, and you're listening to the Pardon the Interaction podcast. My oh my, we've had so much going on. For starters, in case you missed it, we've got a new addition to the Pardon Pie family, Tara Dublin. Make sure you go follow her on Twitter at Tara Dublin Rocks. Also, pick up a copy of her book while you're at it. Make her day, The Sound of Settling. A very fun and interesting read compared to the things we talk about on this podcast. But yeah, we're heading toward the do or die time for the 2024 election. Go ahead and hit up joebiden.com. Get that man like $1 a month or something. Help his campaign staff up and get prepared to try and save our democracy. And make sure to grab like one other person you know and tell them about the podcast. Make sure they subscribe and tune in every single week. We got a lot of things coming up for you this year. We need all the support that we can get. So if you do your part and help us grow our audience, we'll do our part and help elect Joe Biden in 2024 and save American democracy. And this is the Pardon the Interaction podcast. Extra notes probably can't hurt.
Thanks for the notes that are really for Carrol.
Well, no, they're for me. They make my life easier. Ty, I know I can just hit record and tell you to go, and you could talk for an hour, no problem. You're like the storyteller of the podcast. We can always rely on you to just inject some kind of interesting anecdote, which I'm very envious of.
Was one of my my colleagues at OD, Ross, and there was something he said, and then I responded with an anecdotal story, and he goes, I feel like it didn't matter what I was to say, you'd have a story for.
Yeah.
If I was to say something about Peru, that you'd come in about that time that you had to kill that man in the Andes.
I mean, I feel the same way about you. I'm like, God damn it, she always has some fucking incredible stories she can tell off the top of her head with like no practice whatsoever. You just recite the shit. I'm like, God damn. Like, Carrol, I don't know how you feel, but like sometimes Ty'll just start talking about something and I'll just be enraptured. I'm like, where the fuck is this going? This is incredible. And she just does it every time we record. It's pretty like spectacular. It's a skill that you have that takes no effort on your part whatsoever, and I'm just fucking jealous as shit. It's probably why you can write a book with no free time, I guess. I don't know.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hey, this is D Knight.
This is Carrol.
This is Ty.
And you're listening to the Pardon the Insurrection podcast. Moving on, Ty, after you.
Trump deposed in civil suit. Can't remember which woman he assaulted. Newly unsealed.
Hey, I'm sorry. We're not giggling at a sexual assault. It's a very serious transgression. I'm sure women across the world are dealing with being sexually assaulted by men. That's not what we find hilarious. We're giggling at the fact that Trump's brain is so mushy that he can't figure out which woman he sexually assaulted. Again, anyway, continue. Sorry.
Newly unsealed transcripts from Donald Trump's deposition in the
I need to attend sensitivity training. So, anyway, continue.
In the E. Jean Carroll case.
I'm a dick.
Show that the former president mistook Carrol for his ex-wife, Marla Maples, in a photo. The transcripts show that during his October 22nd deposition, Trump was shown a black and white photo where he is interacting with several people, including his then wife, Ivana, Carrol, and her then husband. I don't know who.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, you got to let me do that part. Wait, give me a second to warm up. Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, election they tried to give you the. Okay. I don't know who. Oh, it's Marla, Trump said.
When shown the photo.
That's Marla. Yeah, that's my wife. Marla Maples. She should have taken the last name Trump. It would have been better for her. She didn't know what she was doing.
Except his actual wife at the time was in the photo with her. That's wild. Jesus. This guy, he didn't even realize that he was married.
Oh, no.
Else. Trump's lawyer, Alina Habba, then interjected and said, "No, that's Carrol," according to the transcript.
How the fuck do you not know who you were married to?
Maybe he's going to go for, I thought every woman was my wife defense.
Well, he was cheating on Ivana. with her
Random bitches. Oh,
with,
yeah.
with Marla. So
Well, he was cheating on Marla with, he was cheating on Ivana with Marla. And then, like, didn't he? Anyway, it's not important. Like, we don't care about the messy ass love life. We care about the fucking crimes. Like, I'm gonna be honest. I got some exes, like, that I can't remember what they look like exactly, or even what their names are. And I'm so ashamed of myself for that.
Well, it just blew completely out of the water his whole claim of Carrol not being his type.
Yes.
And that, to me, is the biggest takeaway from this, because that's his whole,
Yeah, Trump's main defense is as to why he wouldn't have sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll is that she's not his type, as in physically. But then you present him with pictures of Carrol at the time, and she looks just like his fucking ex-wife. They looked exactly the fucking same. You couldn't tell them apart. You would have been like, yeah, that's Marla Maples too.
Well, that's who I thought it was. When I first saw the picture, before I read what the picture was, I just thought, oh, Trump and his Marla,
it looks just like her. It's
Marla. No. I never met her. You just brought me Tiffany.
Oh God.
It really does. And he's always quick to show a current picture of E. Jean, and I think she looks great. But he's using that to justify why he wouldn't have assaulted her
at the time
30 years ago.
Right.
Well,
now we've seen the picture of her 30 years ago, side by side, next to Marla Maples, and you're like, oh, it's the same. He has a type. Like he went after Carrol because she's exactly the type of girl he's like attracted to. It's the same. Yeah.
Exactly. Carrol first sued Trump in 2019 for defamation after he denied her rape allegation. She filed a second lawsuit against Trump in November under a new law that allowed her to sue for battery, even though the statute of limitations on the crime had passed.
Thank you, New York.
Trump has denied sexually assaulting the former magazine columnist and said he never pressured a woman to have sex with him, according to a deposition transcript that was unsealed last week.
If any of you have read that deposition, it's insane. Like, just go check that out. Google that.
He is such a vile sexist. Like, he's the fucking worst, man.
Yeah, and his lies are fucking terrible. Like, a lot better than this.
Yeah. In his deposition transcript, Trump reiterated previous comments that he didn't know Carrol and that she isn't his type, a claim that could be called into question after his response to being shown the photograph. Trump said that while it is not politically correct to say she isn't his type, he said he had to defend himself. That was his defense. He added that it wasn't meant as an insult.
Well, it's not an insult. It was just a lie.
Yeah, exactly. When asked if he ever kissed a woman without her consent, Trump testified, well, I can't think of any complaints, but no, I don't think so. He also denied ever touching a woman's breasts or buttocks. Carrol's attorney, Roberta Kaplan, asked Trump, have you ever pressured a woman to engage in sex with you? The answer is no, but you may have some people like your client who are willing to lie. Piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit.
I personally know someone who says she's been groped by Donald Trump. Like,
really?
Oh my God. Why is the world so small? Or maybe he's just grabbing literally every, excuse my language, pussy that he comes across. Yeah.
That's what it sounds like.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm anti-pressure. I'm like, hey, we don't have to if you don't want to. It's totally fine. You can say no. It's no big deal. We can just cuddle. We can just talk. We can just watch a movie. We don't have to do anything.
All right, I'm like dry as a stone now.
I'm sorry. Well, okay. Well, in that case,
You're
like
using so many words. Just stop talking.
Wait, just stop talking and stick it in, or like what do we? Anyway, yeah. All right. On to the. I'm done. Michael Cohen is back bragging, quote unquote. Donald Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, said he met for 2.5 hours Tuesday with Manhattan prosecutors who have revived a years-old investigation into payments made to a porn star to keep her quiet about an alleged extramarital tryst. This would be an extramarital tryst with the same guy who just said he's never pressured a woman to engage in sex with him. Funny how these things transition. Cohen said that he had been ordered not to disclose any of the people present at the meeting or to discuss prosecutors' area of interest in any detail. I have tremendous confidence in the team that I met with yesterday, as well as their depth and knowledge regarding this and other matters, Cohen said. Cohen pled guilty in 2018 to federal charges that he violated campaign finance law by arranging payouts to porn actors Stormy Daniels and model Karen McDougal to keep them from going public with claims of extramarital affairs with Trump. Trump has denied the affairs, much like he denied the sexual assault of E. Jean Carrol. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Manhattan decided not to prosecute Trump personally over the hush money payments, which was a terrible fucking decision. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking. They were high. Like, how can you prosecute Michael Cohen when, like, he's literally making the payments on behalf of Trump? And, like, Trump is like, yeah, I'm going to pay you the fuck. But anyway, cutting the checks, literally. Anyway, no charges were brought against Trump during the tenure of former Manhattan District Attorney Cy Vance, who shifted the probe's focus to the Trump organization's business practices. The company was convicted of tax fraud last month and fined 1.6 fucking million. I guess technically that's a drop in the bucket as far as the Trump org's finances are concerned, but still, fuck that guy. Pay up that 1.6 mil. On Wednesday, Bragg's office sent a letter to Mark Pomerantz, the former prosecutor who once oversaw the Trump inquiries, and his publisher Simon & Schuster, raising concerns that his book slated publication next month could, quote, materially prejudice ongoing criminal investigations. Bragg's office said Pomerantz failed to receive required authorization before writing the book, People versus Trump, an inside account, and then he could be committing a crime if he was unlawfully converting confidential government information for his personal advantage. The office is seeking to review the manuscript before publication. Pomerantz left the district attorney's office last year after clashing with Bragg over the direction of the case and recently started a nonprofit law firm, Free and Fair Litigation Group, with ex-Trump prosecutor Kerry Dunn and former NBA Players Union executive director Michelle Roberts. Oh, I'm a fan. Michelle, you did a good job. Well, I mean, you did what you could given the circumstances. NBA owners, y'all are some shit bags too. In a statement,
was Kerry Dunn the other?
Yeah, I think
the other person who was working with Pomerantz.
I think so. I think so, Carol.
Yeah,
that looks familiar. It stood out to me.
Yeah, these are the motherfuckers who had to quit because Bragg was like, "No, I don't want to pull the trigger on this," and they was like, "Bitch, you better." Oh no, we out of here. We can't deal with this bullshit. Again, like me personally, I don't trust Bragg to continue with any of this, but I given the news, I was like, well, it's noteworthy. Anyway, in a statement, Pomerantz said, I am confident in all of my actions with respect to the Trump investigation, including the writing of my forthcoming book, are consistent with my legal and ethical obligations. As for Cohen, he met with Manhattan prosecutors earlier in the investigation more than a dozen times, including 3 times while serving a federal prison sentence. Today's session was his first since Bragg took office last year. I only bring this story up just out of the prospect that this might be the investigation in which charges are brought against Trump first. Because really, there's no new information to uncover. Like, it's all there.
Yeah.
Like, Cohen made the payments. He made them on Trump's behalf. They were funneled through the Trump org. Like, they have the documents. They have the money. Like, it's there clear as day. Like, Cohen's already fucking been, he's been to jail. Like, he's been to jail. Like, it is what it is.
He was convicted of it. And we know, I mean, it wasn't on his behalf. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
he's not the one who was banging Stormy.
Yeah. And they're not, you're right. They're not covering any new ground.
No.
There are things, it seems to me like they're, I don't know, they're trying to kind of, I guess, get their ducks in a row.
I think this is Bragg trying to cover his ass because he keeps dropping the ball.
So it'll be interesting to see if Pomerantz, maybe not interesting to most people, but if Pomerantz gets called in, if this is under New York City jurisdiction, he would have, as a New York City employee, he would have had to ask for a waiver before writing a book.
Right.
Especially about, this is the sort of thing Evan used to do. He worked at the New York City Conflicts of Interest Board. So when people
Evan is
my husband, Evan is my husband. He was an attorney
for the record
for the New York City Conflicts of Interest Board. And this is the sort of case that would come before them. If Bragg reported Pomerantz, and I'm not the expert, maybe I should go get
No,
Evan.
we don't have to do that. That's too much work. Let that man play his fucking video games. If Bragg reported
Pomerantz and said this is a conflict of interest, there will be a hearing process.
Yeah.
And he might have to pay fines or something.
I mean, that's fair. That makes sense because it's not like a memoir, like, oh, my time at the DA's office, like in a general vague term.
No.
He's talking about a specific case that's still ongoing.
Right.
But I guess it depends, I guess, if he did it like while he was at company time or whatever. Was he working there at the time? It's all company information. I guess it's a different issue.
Well, I guess that's why they said they want the manuscript first, because I mean they're going to know pretty quickly if there's something in there that is privileged or it should not be in there. And it says particularly since, like, if it was the investigation was completely over, that's one thing, but it's not. And so
it was until recently.
Yeah,
Bragg himself was like, "We're not bringing charges." Like he said that. So
yeah, and I'm sorry, this probably doesn't touch conflict of interest law at all. If he wasn't working there anymore when he wrote the book, like in my mind, this just happened like a week ago, where Bragg said we weren't bringing charges.
And also, what Derek said is there was no intention to prosecute Trump, so
he felt free to write about the book.
He could have, in good faith, like, this is over, you know, because he didn't expect to be where
he wrote an entire book before Bragg decided, hey, maybe I want to get Cohen back in here and have him, cooperate with investigators. Like, an entire book was written between Pomerantz resigning in protest and last week when Bragg brought Cohen back in and revived the case.
Well, not only written, the book had to be submitted because it's slated to be released, which means the publishing house has...
Yeah, they've done their due diligence.
And of course, they're going to vet the information because
which means they had to get in contact with the district attorney's office
to verify, because that's their name, the publishing house, for putting out that book. So if you're putting out something that's just full of fake, that comes back on you. So they would have definitely had to, the editors.
Right.
At the publishing.
We've gotten off in the weeds here. I think the most important point is, like, the charges from this investigation should be ready to go. Now, I know there were some issues with... I
had to make my irrelevant point because...
You're irrelevant.
Unless he was writing it while he still worked there. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I think some points have been made about the statute of limitations as far as the charges from this are concerned, because, like, the initial payment was so long ago. I think the statute of limitations is 5 years, but it does run from the final act that would be in furtherance of the crime, or either that or concealment. So it's entirely possible that we might not hit the end of the statute of limitations until next year, given Cohen's last reimbursement from Trump. Anyway, but yeah, just wanted to bring that up because just be on the look. I don't know what the fuck Bragg is doing. I got zero trust in Bragg, but it's entirely possible he might be like, well, if it looks like Trump's going down, let me beat everybody to the punch with this easy to charge fucking crime. I mean, it's basically a paper crime.
Yeah.
It's really straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we talking about...
All right, Carrol, your turn.
While we're on the topic of lawsuits, Matt Schlapp was slapped with a lawsuit.
Transition.
A former Herschel Walker campaign staffer who accused conservative strategist Matt Schlapp of sexual assault has filed a civil lawsuit against him, seeking up to about $7 million in damages. Pick a number, girl.
Pause. Everyone out there listening to this podcast, I want you to Google Matt Schlapp. Do it real quick. Just open up the Internet Explorer, whatever the fuck it is you use, Safari. I don't know what you Apple people use. Type in Matt Schlapp, go to images, look at a picture of Matt Schlapp, and ask yourself, do you want this guy touching your dick or your vagina? You know, if you have one, like I don't.
Does Matt Schlapp want to touch vaginas? It seems like
anyway.
That's a good point. I don't have an answer. Yeah, well, that's an entirely different story about the nature of like closeted conservatives that we don't have time to get into. Anyway,
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to hear the words like "I'm an alpha male." I'm an alpha male. Okay. Schlapp, an
Nick
ally
Adams
of
is not happy with Matt Schlapp right now.
Okay. Schlapp, an ally of former President Trump.
That was from my Twitter people.
Chair of the American Conservative Union, has been running CPAC for nearly a decade. It bills itself as the, quote, largest and most influential gathering of conservatives in the world, end quote.
It's a gigantic conservative circle jerk.
Yeah. That's all it is.
And the largest and most influential conservative circle jerk.
Nailed it. Way to nail the
Just to be clear, it's the circle that's the largest, not any of the things they anyway.
Yeah, nothing that they're jerking is that big.
Yeah,
unless it's campaign staffers, and they've done that without consent.
The suit, which identifies the former staffer as John Doe, was filed in Virginia Circuit Court on Tuesday. It accuses Schlapp of, quote, aggressively fondling Doe without consent during a drive from an Atlanta bar to a hotel.
He pulled a Trump and he grabbed him by the dick.
Which one was driving?
While he was driving. Oh my gosh.
Maybe they were like in the whatever.
Yeah, the staffer apparently was driving. Schlapp was in the passenger seat, and he was like, I'm going to grab him by the pussy, except there was a dick there, and he intended.
I thought I was driving, and that was the stick shift.
Yeah.
This staffer had been tasked with driving Schlapp to Atlanta from a Walker campaign event.
I just want to pat you on the back for that joke. The stick shift joke. Good job. Kudos to you. Like, I wish we had like drops, like, because you deserve like an applause or something in the background.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yes, I'll be here. I'll number 7. Okay.
That's a joke no one's gonna understand. They can't see our notes, Carrol.
After the alleged assault, the complaint states Schlapp later invited him to his hotel room, which the staffer declined. In the suit, the staffer described being, quote, shocked, mortified, horrified, and devastated by Mr. Schlapp's advances and unwanted and non-consensual touching and fondling.
If Schlapp touched my dick, I would be mortified too. Like, holy fucking Jesus Christ. And that's not because I'm straight. It's just because, have you seen Matt Schlapp?
The complaint also accuses Schlapp and his wife, Mercedes Schlapp, of, quote, a campaign to impugn Mr. Doe's character, end quote, after stories of the incident first became public through, quote, the use of lawyers and hired guns and Mrs. Schlapp directly.
I like your artificial intelligence generated voice. Great.
Mercedes Schlapp herself is a former member of the Trump administration.
Yeah, man. Look, the incest runs deep. Like, it's always some former Trump official or their spouse getting involved in some criminal activity. And this time it's grooming. Basically just like, I don't know, using your position of power to molest some fucking low paid staffer who's out here with Herschel Walker. So, he's like, just doing whatever he can to get his foot in the door of politics. If you're working for fucking Herschel fucking Walker and it's in a campaign, you like have no options available to you.
That's something you leave off your resume.
Yeah, yeah. When you apply for your next job, like, you don't even put that on the resume. You're like, I don't want anyone to know. I want this to be private.
No, I took a gap year.
Like, you have to listen to fucking Herschel Walker speak. And then, as part of your employ, and then after that, you have to be subjected to this dude like trying to touch your. Get the fuck out of here with this shit. I'm sorry. I'm alright.
That is so creepy. That is just so gross.
It is.
That is just so. That is just so. Gross.
And as far as Schlapp is concerned, like, we don't have any like issues with his sexuality. We're pretty inclusive over here. If you want to suck dicks, suck all the dicks you want to.
As long as they said yes.
Just make sure you have their fucking consent first.
Consent.
That's all you have to do. Before you try and put the dick in your mouth, Ask, is it okay? And if they say no, respect their fucking wishes. Is that so much to ask? Like when someone's trying to suck my dick, they usually ask first, or like I whip it out, either or. Like there's an invitation one way or the other, and like someone says yay or nay. Like in this case, he was like, "No, just give me that," and like we can't be doing that, bro.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that shit is wild. That shit is wild.
Speaking of Herschel Walker, did they like just totally discard him? Because I think we were all in agreement. Walker needed some help.
I feel
And I think we were also all in agreement that like once his campaign was over, that they would just like toss him to the side. They would like never mention him again. I haven't heard his name brought up. Have you?
No, but I love to see Christian go off on people. It's funny.
Yeah, well, that's worn out its welcome too. That's gotten old.
Yeah.
No offense, Christian.
I guess it was Matt Schlapp he was yelling about.
You know what? If Schlapp had tried to pull out Christian's dick, maybe they would have like.
Yeah, I shouldn't have brought this up. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just I don't know where we just went off the rails there. It was my fault. I blame me. Again, I need sensitivity training. I'm a man. You see, the ladies are out here doing a perfectly wonderful job discussing the subject matter. Myself, on the other hand, anyway.
Already.
After you.
Already. SCOTUS sham investigation in shambles. The Supreme Court's stunning report last Thursday on its failure to discover who leaked a draft decision reversing abortion rights last year laid bare shortfalls at the nation's highest court in its technology protocols for confidentiality and overall institutional safeguards, and its lack of confidence in finding the leaker.
Yeah, you don't say.
I just can't. The justice's 2-page statement and 20-page report from Supreme Court Marshal Gail Curley appear intended to demonstrate the thoroughness of the investigation, with 126 formal interviews of 97 employees and various forensic measures taken.
You're so much better at reading than I am. It's like you're a writer or something.
And all of that, and they just could not find the leaker. Okay. His name rhymes with Shishito.
Alico.
On Friday, Curley put out a statement
That
saying
was such a bad joke.
to the justices, but suggesting that it was in a less formal process than her interviews with employees. She said she did not ask the justices to sign sworn affidavits, as she had asked their law clerks.
Well, why the fuck did you even talk to him then? I'm sorry.
And that none of the leads she pursued implicated the justices or their spouse. Real. And we're supposed to believe that.
Alito asked 6 or 7 times, and I'm not under oath? I'm not under oath? I'm not.
They didn't have to sign an affidavit. Well, they also swore under oath that they had no intentions of overturning Roe and their confirmation hearing. So pardon me if I'm not, convinced with their honesty.
No,
Time has gone somewhere else.
much like Matt Schlapp, they're just jerking us off.
They're just jerking us off. Yeah, they know damn well. But they ran into the wrong person. They know who did it.
Well, that's why they didn't ask any of the justices to sign a sworn affidavit, because they know who it was. If
They're going to appoint special counsel OJ to find the real leaker.
Justice Alito is gonna write a book about the leak entitled "If I Did It."
If I leaked it.
If I leaked it, yeah.
Yeah,
This is a hot mess. Like, nobody believes it. Look, they made such a commotion about how this was like a violation of the sanctity of the Supreme Court. Like, you motherfuckers. First of all, the person they put in charge of this investigation, like, that motherfucker doesn't do investigations. It's not his job. It's not in his job description. He doesn't have any experience. That's who you put in charge of a fucking investigation when you don't want to find the fucking answer. I'm sorry. I'm all right. Look, okay. Look, did the two of you remember when our first episode of this podcast? What was the subject matter involved in that podcast? It was the overturning of Roe v. Wade. It was the Hobbs decision, right? We were also beat down. We were like, oh, this shit is so fucking depressing. I don't even want to talk about this shit, but like, it's so important. We kind of like have to do a podcast about it. We're a podcast about the insurrection, but this shit is so fucking ridiculous that we have to talk about this first. That's how fucking serious we take it. Look how serious the Supreme Court they don't give a fuck. They didn't even bother really trying to find the person who they're like, we have 9 prime suspects. Yeah. And we're not going to make them sign anything. Like, you don't want the fucking answers, you pieces of shit, after you accuse motherfuckers of like undermining the Supreme Court, and then you run a fucking sham a pox on you,
you know what,
and all your houses.
Like, the leak, they've made so much.
I hope Clarence Thomas's dick falls off and Jeannie Thomas and Alito has to eat it out.
No, I don't want that visual.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, I think the edible was kicking in.
Hey, where's my edible?
But they
Carrol, are you high?
Damn it.
Carrol, I'll take that look as a yes. No one can see you. You have to use your words. We're not 5. We can speak. I'm sorry, Ty. What were you saying?
I don't remember.
I was actually muted, but I didn't try to say anything.
What was I saying about
something about your edible?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I turned red. If you couldn't tell, like I got huge and green. I went all Hulk smash on the podcast. I'm sorry. I'm calming it down.
At the end of the day, the leak did not change anything.
No.
Except it got people fired up. But it just happened a little bit sooner before Roe v. Wade was overturned. But I think with the release of the leak of the opinion, though, it was a wake-up call to some people just how fucking backwards and archaic Alito's thinking is.
Well, it's funny you even bring up the leak not changing anything, because from another perspective, depending on how you look at it, someone may have been getting cold feet, and the leak might have, I don't know, like solidified their position. If everyone knows the decision is already made, you can't really back out of it then, because they'll know it was you.
Well, okay. Now I'm going to disagree with that. I think that it was a brag. I think whoever leaked it was giving the middle finger to abortion rights activists, basically. Yeah. And they just couldn't contain themselves. Like, they couldn't contain themselves. And they basically, I feel like whoever leaked it was of the position of, you can't do shit about this that's coming. Yeah. Like, because the whole thing with the with the Hobby Lobby League,
also the work of Justice Alito,
we were so excited. They were so excited to share. Like, I'm going to tell you this. We're going to rule in your favor. Yeah, and I think whoever in the process of the information share and the brag, like, look what I did today. Yeah. Of whatever, that somebody just couldn't. Keep their mouth.
That's a possibility, but I just also want to raise the idea that, say you're a Brett Kavanaugh or you're a Chief Justice Roberts, and in quiet you're trying to negotiate for some like middle ground between like Roe and Hobbs, right? And there's a Justice Alito who's already written the opinion, and he's like, I want to get my vote solidified. Like, I want everything set in stone when the time comes for us to actually hold a vote. And Alito's like, I'm going to put this out here. People are going to see what it is. And then if anyone backs out and tries to change their mind, they're going to face the wrath of the conservative outrage.
Well, it could have. I mean, that's also a possibility.
Yeah, we don't know. And the reason why we don't know is because they didn't run a real investigation, because they don't give a fuck. Sure. Yep. It's unfortunate. Oh. All righty. That concludes our news rundown for the week. What we have up next is our official vote on the Shithole of the Week award. I believe I will let the ladies go first. Carrol, if you have any nominees for Shithole of the Week.
It's hard not to just think of Kitara Rivace. No, I'm sorry, I like her. Of Santos, Anthony George de Voler Santos.
Ooh, that is a good one.
Rivace.
Yeah. Somehow I didn't think of that one. I had someone else in mind.
He also had a Jewish name.
Yeah,
Dabrowski. No, was it Dabrowski?
yeah, it was Dabrowski. This man, that motherfucker just be lying about. I understand people like have an inclination to lie about certain things to like, protect themselves financially or legally or socially or in their romantic relationships. Like this motherfucker just be lying about shit just to be lying. It's insane. All right, continue.
That's pretty much it. He's also just very stupid about it. Like, did he not think any of this stuff would ever come to light?
Well, he reminds me of I grew up in the 90s, pre-internet, where like, how you had that person you went to school with and they would be the one guy to be like, oh yeah, I got a girlfriend, but she go to another school, right? And this was before you could fact check such information. Like, bro, it's 2023. We got social media, bro. We can just Google shit. We can look up.
People are dying to come forward about you.
Yeah, imagine trying to lie to your friends and be like, yeah, my girlfriend go to the other high school across town on the other side of the county. Like, bro, we can Google, dog. Like, what why we don't see any pictures of you with her on the Instagram or whatever the kids use these days, Snapchat and such, Snapgram and InstaChat. All right, Ty, do you have any nominations for Shithole of the Week?
Yeah, Ron DeSantis.
Oh my God, he'd be fucking.
He's always the worst.
Yeah, Ron DeSantis.
Jesus Christ.
I hate him.
All right, that's fair. All right, I was wary of bringing this up, but I hereby nominate Atlanta PD just for the fuckery. Yeah, just Google the Atlanta PD. The story will come up. Like, just it is what it is. It's 2023. We're still dealing with this shit. Like, if police haven't learned their lesson after George Floyd and the summer of 2020, like they'll never learn their lesson. Nothing will. I don't think anything will ever change the police. Like I
read that they've killed more people this year. They've killed more citizens this year than ever.
You mean 2022? Yeah. Last year. Right. Yeah. Record number.
Atlanta PD, Atlanta too, but
it's insane. Like as black a city as Atlanta is, they can't even, get enough black police officers out there to kind of try to mitigate some of the potential harm being done in the community. I don't even want to talk about it. It's fucking frustrating and gut wrenching and heartbreaking. I'm sick of this shit. Fuck Atlanta PD. I nominate Atlanta PD for the Shithole of the Week award.
Yep, seconded.
Yep.
All right. By consensus, Atlanta Metro PD, you are hereby awarded the Shithole of the Week award for all your dumb fuckery. Fuck you guys. Eat a dick.
Congratulations, assholes.
Yeah, good job. Pieces of shit. Yep. All right. Do either of you have any closing thoughts? Carol, I'll start with you. Ty, I'll start with you.
Justice is coming. It's coming slowly. Is this like a tantric justice?
It's coming as slowly as you would if Matt Schlapp were trying to jerk you off. I'm sorry. That's terrible. Oh my God. Get it
just
out of my
stick
head.
some sandpaper in my panties and just
I don't even have panties and stick some sandpaper in mine. I'm sorry. Ty, do you have any closing thoughts?
I think that we need to pay close attention to these committees and who's been appointed on them and really keep a close eye on the kind of crap that they're going to be trying.
Yep, the dumb fuckery.
Yeah, that they're.
It's coming.
I mean, it's. We make fun and we're just like they're dumb, but they're also very dangerous. And, we've got a 9/11 truther, an election denier sitting on the Homeland Security Committee. That's insane.
It very much is.
That's just wild. And what's going to, go on with the Judiciary Committee, and they're renaming all of these committees that have had their names forever. They're adding these little the right-wing talking points buzzwords to they're just I just hate them all. But I'm really eager to see what kind of resolutions, what investigations are going to come out of these lunatics that have been placed on these committees. Because I think they said like 16 or something that I read, like 16 of those crazy Freedom Caucus members.
Yep, they're putting the insane people on all the most powerful committees. It's not ideal. I'm glad you brought it up too, because this was a topic I had in the notes, but I cut it out because I was like, just for the interest of time. But yeah, one thing I remember when Biden took office 2 years ago, we've recently had the 2-year anniversary of Biden's inauguration. I noticed that people who had been just diligently focused on the cause of just standing up to Republican dumbfuckery, they were like, all right, Biden's in office, problem solved. Let me go off and focus on my own personal shit or my own petty shit. And what resulted was a bunch of bickering and infighting from people who had been previously united, as if they didn't take the threat seriously enough to realize that it wasn't gone. It was just that
it was bigger than Trump.
It was bigger than Trump. But really what Biden's election was a temporary reprieve. Like, the fight wasn't over. It was just, we were in a stronger position, and we had the opportunity to take a break and gather ourselves and pool our resources. And what people did instead of that was just to focus on their own petty little personal shit. And I'm not saying that I wanted Republicans to take control of the House again in 2022 at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is that because they've taken power, or at least as far as the House is concerned, like, that it's a fucking wake up call, that the people wake the fuck up and realize it's not all flowers and sunshine and bunny rabbits, and the shit can go wrong if we let it, if we don't do our part, if we don't put in the work and take up the fight and get off our fucking asses and make this shit happen in 2024. Because we're still one election away from it all going horribly wrong in everything that we consider great about the United States and our democracy being over in just a couple of years from now. Like, we're that close. Like, so let this be an opportunity for Republicans to show you just how bad it could be. So you get off your fucking ass and fight. Make this shit work. As for me, my personal closing thoughts. So a couple weeks ago, another sports ball moment. Girls, you can just tune out. I know you don't care about the shit. The Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals played a football game that was, potentially playoff. It had playoff implications, potentially deciding the number one seed in the NFL. I don't know how many of you care about that. But most notably, there was a player in the game for the Buffalo Bills named Damar Hamlin, who made what seemed to be like a routine run-of-the-mill tackle on a receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals, and ended up injuring himself to the point where we practically thought he died on the field. This is noteworthy, not necessarily because he died on the field. That's not even what I want to talk about. It's just the nature of what we experience over, like, these traumatic instances, and how we cope, and how we try to get back to normal, and how we try to just do what we can to make it through to the next day, every single day, like our coping strategies, what have you. Like, it's one thing to go through a traumatic experience and then put the experience behind you and try to live out the rest of your days in some sense of normalcy. But that's not what we've been doing. We're especially with, like, the news and the topics we talk about on this podcast, we're much like the Buffalo Bills. We like deal with the traumatic experience, and then we go right back to the craziness, the insanity. Like, not only did they have a player die on the field, of course, this was one of the few opportunities where I've ever even seen an NFL game canceled or postponed, for that matter. But despite that, what do? They were out there back on the field next week, even with their teammate in the hospital. Like, we've been through traumatic experience after traumatic experience, and we go right back to the fucking insanity. This podcast ostensibly is inspired by the January 6th insurrection, and I don't mean that in a positive way. Think about how insane it is for you to have been a member of Congress on that day. You're at the Capitol. You think you're holding a routine vote to certify the president's election or electoral victory. And the next thing you know, you are fearing for your lives. You're locked in the fucking basement of the United States Capitol because thousands of people have stormed the building with the intentions of harming you, if not killing you, and anyone else that you know who's present in the building at that time. And then you get through that, and you have to go back to fucking work the next day with the people who helped plot that shit. It's fucking utter insane. It's bananas. I don't know how the fuck they do it. I couldn't do it. I know if I was a member of the House of Representatives or the Senate on January 6th and that shit happened to me, I would be trying to beat my coworker's ass every fucking goddamn day. I would be trying to take them the fuck out because I don't forget shit. I remember shit. I'll write it down. I'll take a fucking picture if I got to. People who did horrific shit to me will eventually pay. But these people have to, they have to bury their emotions. They have to have a sense of decorum. They have to be professional. They have to come deal with this shit every day. It's 2 years later, fast forward, and the motherfuckers who plotted this shit have taken control of the House. I don't know how they managed to go through this every fucking day, managing to keep their composure. It's in fucking impossible circumstances for me to comprehend, but they manage. Personally, I'm not one that's willing to bury the shit, let bygones be bygones, and pretend like there's some sense of decorum. No, fuck these people. Make these fucking people pay. Let's not go back to this fucking insanity and pretend like it's normal and just bury our heads out here. We gotta do the fucking work, get off our asses, and make sure these motherfuckers pay. Cause DOJ isn't gonna save us, at least not on their own. Like Biden's not gonna do it for us. There's no solution outside of us saving ourselves. So we got to figure out how to be responsible, take matters in our own hands. And I don't mean that with violence. I mean that with voting. I mean that with being persuasive, convincing other people that our side is the right side, the side of justice, the side of integrity, the side of democracy. But we got to do our fucking part. That's why we're doing this fucking podcast. Figure out how to do your fucking part. And that concludes this episode of Part of the Insurrection.